Wow. We don't do this every day, but this is a very special moment. Welcome to all of you from across Canada, from Vancouver, the Pacific, all the way to the Atlantic. Welcome all of our viewers for an incredible moment of a forum in preparation for the World Synod of Bishops in 2018 on young people, on foi et discernement, on faith and discernment and youthfulness. Je vous souhaite un très grand bienvenue à ce moment très, très important. Et avec nous aujourd'hui, nous avons quelqu'un du Vatican qui est venu exprès pour ça. I welcome Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the prefect of the Vatican Dicastery for Family, Life, everything that's human, everything that's alive. Welcome to be with us here. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here as we prepare for this great moment in the life of the Church. It's so important that we prepare for this synod that our Holy Father has called so that our voices may be heard. We have to speak. As Pope Francis has asked us on many occasions, we really need to let our voice be heard. If not, life will go on as before, and that is not the way we want it to be. We need Church to be more involved with the young people of the world. And you, my dear people, are the ones who are going to tell us how to do that.
You know, we're here tonight because of a very special event that happened in Rome not too long ago. It was Saturday evening, April the 8th. Cardinal Farrell, you and I were present in St. Mary Major Basilica, and I saw the Pope do something that I've never seen him before. Je vous invite à regarder le Pape François. La nuit du 8 avril, c'était la veille du dimanche des Rameaux, quand il a invité les jeunes du monde à se bien préparer pour le synode sur les jeunes. Take a look.
Cari giovani,
Chers jeunes,
grazie per essere qui.
merci d'être là.
Questa sera è un doppio inizio.
Ce soir marque un double début.
Inizio del cammino verso il
Le début du chemin vers le synode,
che ha un nome lungo,
dont l'intitulé est un peu long, les jeunes, la foi et le discernement vocationnel. Mais disons le synode des jeunes, on comprend mieux. Et le second début, c'est celui du chemin vers Panama. L'archevêque de Panama est ici avec nous. Je le salue bien. Nous avons écouté l'Évangile, nous avons prié, nous avons chanté, nous avons porté des fleurs à Notre-Dame, à la mer. Et nous avons porté la croix qui vient de Cracovie et qui demain sera remise aux jeunes de Panama. De Cracovie à Panama et au milieu, le synode. Un synode dont aucun jeune ne doit se sentir exclu. Mais nous faisons le synode pour les jeunes catholiques, pour les jeunes appartenant aux associations catholiques. Ainsi, c'est plus fort. Non. Le synode est un synode pour et de tous les jeunes. Les jeunes en sont les protagonistes. Mais même les jeunes qui se sentent agnostiques? Oui. Même les jeunes dont la foi est tiède? Oui. Même les jeunes qui se sont éloignés de l'Église? Oui.
non so se qualcuno, ma magari ci sia
Même les
qualcuno,
jeunes, et je ne sais
giovani
pas,
che
il y en a, peut-être
si
y en a-t-il
sentono
qui se
atei.
sentent
Sì,
athées.
questo
Oui,
è il sinodo dei giovani e noi tutti
c'est le synode des
vogliamo
jeunes et nous
ascoltare.
voulons tous nous écouter.
Ogni giovane ha qualcosa di
Chaque
dire
jeune a
agli
quelque chose à
altri,
dire aux
ha
autres,
qualcosa di dire agli
a quelque
adulti,
chose à dire
ha
aux
qualcosa
adultes,
di dire
a
ai
quelque chose à dire aux
preti, alle
prêtres,
suore,
aux
ai
sœurs, aux
vescovi e al
évêques
Papa.
et au
Tutti
pape.
abbiamo bisogno di
Tous,
sentire
nous
voi.
avons besoin de vous écouter.
Cardinal Farrell, we were together in St. Mary Major Basilica on that night. I remember we looked at each other saying, oh my God, I've never seen the Pope so animated. What did you think of that night?
It was an extraordinary night because I have seen him many times speak, but never as energetic as he was, and never as involved, and never almost pleading with the young people who were there at the Basilica to come out and to speak and to say what's on their minds. He has encouraged us all and is encouraging all the young people of the world. As he says himself, whether they're believers or non-believers, atheists, everybody has something to say on this, for this synod. So important is this to him that he has called a pre-synod of young people who will gather in Rome in March of next year to let their voices be heard again directly to our Holy Father and to those who will represent all the bishops of the world at this synod in October. So I beg you all, speak your mind, say what's on your mind, say what's in your heart. We need to hear and we need to know. So I do hope that you will open up your hearts to the invitation of Pope Francis on this occasion.
Not only this audience in Toronto, this big group representing so many groups, well, we have a country that's pumped just like the Pope was pumped. And we have an audience in Vancouver on the West Coast. Archbishop Michael Miller, the Archbishop of Vancouver, has brought together some of his great leaders and gathered together with Alicia Ambrosio. Hi, Vancouver. And then we have Calgary, Noel Ockel. From our staff, I sent him, I said, you go to Calgary and you lead the group in Calgary. So thanks to Bishop Bill McGrattan for gathering together the young people of Calgary. Hi, Calgary. And then we have behind us Windsor, Assumption University and the Catholic Chaplaincy. And we sent another person from our staff who's there in the back, Deacon Pedro Guevara Man, who's leading the group in Windsor. And behind me, you'll see Montréal et Québec, deux grands diocèses avec les jeunes qui se sont réunis pour parler du synode et pour répondre à l'appel du pape. Salut Montréal et bonjour Québec. And now we have two people here. We've got to take the Pope seriously because we have protagonists and actors who are here and they're going to lead this consultation for the country. We have Julian Paparella from the Diocese of London, who's a graduate student in theology at the Institut Catholique de Paris. That's a French place. A big-time French school for theology. Et nous avons Mademoiselle Émilie Callan d'Ontario qui travaille ici, elle est à la télévision, c'est une experte de télévision. Bienvenue, take it away, it's yours.
Now, synods are nothing new. They happen every 4 years in Rome, where hundreds of bishops from across the world gather together to discuss important issues in the life of the Church with the Pope. But this synod, as we've just seen from Pope Francis, is something different because this synod is about young people, and the Pope wants to hear from all of us.
Et bien sûr, nous avons déjà rencontré les villes qui participent. Et la conversation que nous allons avoir ce soir avec les jeunes, c'est une conversation parmi plusieurs qui se déroulent pendant toute l'année en préparation au synode en octobre 2018. Alors, c'est une chance unique et importante que nous avons ce soir.
Thank you, Emily. Now, here with us in Toronto, we have a whole studio audience that we've gathered together from the Diocese of St. Catharines, Hamilton, London, Peterborough, and Toronto, and they're all here to have their voices heard in response to the call of Pope Francis. Are you excited to be here? Thank you very much. And now, Emily, take it away.
Alors, nous allons maintenant à Québec. Bonjour, Jasmin. Comment ça se passe?
Bonjour de Québec. Ça nous fait très plaisir d'être avec vous. Et comme nous avons un groupe de 9 jeunes, je vais vous les présenter. On a Anne-Sophie, Élisane, Joanie, Joël, Joachim, Maxence, Doriane, Gérald et Jean-Philippe. Et je ne sais pas si vous avez remarqué, mais Gérald, c'est aussi un archevêque, notre archevêque à Québec, le cardinal Gérald Cyprien Lacroix. Alors, nous avons eu le temps de fraterniser avant le début de l'enregistrement de ce programme. Avec l'équipe technique aussi, on est vraiment passionnés par ce synode. Nous espérons avoir la même énergie que celle du pape François. Alors, au plaisir de discuter avec vous des thèmes qui nous sont chers pour ce synode. Alors, au plaisir.
Thank you, Jasmin. So, now, Montreal. Bonjour, Francis. Comment ça se passe à Montréal?
Je suis en compagnie de 15 jeunes qui proviennent de tous les milieux de l'archidiocèse de Montréal. On sait que l'archidiocèse de Montréal, c'est un endroit très multiculturel. On sait que la messe se dit en plus de 53 langues partout à travers le diocèse. Les jeunes ici réunis avec moi sont très heureux de pouvoir faire bénéficier à l'ensemble du Canada justement toutes ces expériences. Et ce qui est très intéressant, c'est qu'ils sont très bien préparés puisqu'ils ont lu justement le document et ils sont impliqués à divers endroits dans le diocèse. Alors, de retour à vous, à Toronto.
Thank you very much, Francis. As Francis was saying, the group that is in Montreal is a very diverse group from various backgrounds and also representing the diversity in Montreal. And how the diocese says Mass all over Montreal in 53 different languages. And so we're excited to hear from them tonight as well.
Now going all the way across the country to the western coast of Canada, we have with us a group in Vancouver. Alicia, are you with us in Vancouver?
Hello, Julian. Yes, we are here. I have with me about a dozen young people from Vancouver, and they represent, it's fabulous, they represent the different ecclesiastical realities, the reality of the church in Vancouver in all its different varieties and forms, but they also represent the cultural diversity of Vancouver. If you look at these faces, you really do see Vancouver reflected here. The Lower Mainland is in this room, and it's wonderful. And we're really pleased to be inside because it just started pouring rain, as is normal and typical in Vancouver. And we are just so pleased to be here and to hear that that diversity is being reflected across the country as well. Back to you, Toronto.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Now moving east over the Rocky Mountains, we have with us Noel in Calgary. Noel, who's with you there?
I've got a cross-section of amazing young Catholics that not only live the gospel and are faithful to the gospel, but also looking to discuss particularly about how the faith of the family affects discernment. Back to you in Toronto.
Thank you very much. We're delighted to have them with us. Now, a little bit closer to here in Toronto, we have with us in Windsor, Ontario, at Assumption University, Deacon Pedro Guevara Mann. Deacon Pedro, who's with you there?
Hello, everyone. Yes, we are here at Assumption University in the University of Windsor, hosted by the campus minister here at the university with a wonderful group of young people. Some of them are university students, some are in high school, some are young professionals. And it's good to remember that Windsor is part of the very large Diocese of London. So we have people here from London and all across the diocese. Now, on a personal note, I'd like to say that it's been very special to hear that clip we just played of the Holy Father, because I was there with Father Tom and Cardinal Farrell. We were there with the Panamanian delegation as the Pope spoke those inspirational words, and in a special way, because it's good to be reminded that this synod is not just for Catholics. It's a synod for young people. And over lunch here in Windsor, we were talking about what it looks like to have the church listen to young people. And so we're very excited to be able to participate in this conversation.
We're delighted to have all of these different cities with us throughout this program to be able to really listen to what young people have to say. And here to listen with us is Cardinal Kevin Farrell. Cardinal, what impressions do you have looking at all these young people from across Canada?
Well, it's so wonderful that technology today can bring us all so close together. This to me is one of the best experiences I could have as we prepare for this great event which will take place in Rome, to be able to listen to a cross-section of all of Canada in a matter of hours, and to do it simultaneously. It's exactly what Pope Francis said when he was at St. Mary Major's last Easter time. He said, let them speak, let them be heard, and it's an invitation to all of us to speak up and to open up our hearts and to be heard once again about our concerns and what the church needs to do and how the church needs to change its ways of doing things so that we can be more attuned to the voice and to the hearts of the young.
Cardinal Farrell, you know, he wants to hear from us.
Yes.
And he's asked us, and we got people all over the country, but we want to listen to him. Do you think there's a chance that we might get some message from the Pope? I know you got connections. Can you do anything?
Well, I only have the connections because you point me in the right direction. But yes, I'm sure the Holy Father, when has he ever said no to speaking to young people? Never. So I would say that the Holy Father will speak to us right now.
Cari giovani amici canadesi, sono contento di stare un po' con voi, partecipando al vostro dialogo che vi vede protagonisti dall'Atlantico al Pacifico. Sono le meraviglie della tecnologia che, se sfruttate positivamente, offrono occasioni di incontro e di scambio impensabili fino a poco tempo fa. Questo ci conferma che quando le persone lavorano insieme, cercando il bene gli uni degli altri, il mondo si rivela in tutta la sua bellezza. Allora vi chiedo di non lasciarlo rovinare da chi pensa solo a sfruttarlo e a distruggerlo senza scrupoli. Vi invito a inondare i luoghi in cui vivete con la gioia e l'entusiasmo tipico della vostra età, a irrigare il mondo e la storia con la gioia che viene dal Vangelo, dall'aver incontrato una persona, Gesù, che vi ha affascinato e vi ha attirato a stare con Lui. Non lasciatevi rubare la vostra giovinezza. Non permettete a nessuno di frenare e oscurare la luce che Cristo mette nel volto e nel cuore. Siate tessitori delle relazioni, improntate alla fiducia, alla condivisione, all'apertura fino ai confini del mondo. Non innalzate muri di divisione. Non innalzate muri di divisione. Costruite ponti, come questo straordinario che state idealmente attraversando e che mette in comunicazione le sponde di due oceani. State vivendo un momento di intensa preparazione al prossimo sinodo dei vescovi, che vi riguarda in modo particolare come coinvolge la comunità cristiana. Infatti il tema è i giovani, la fede e il discernimento vocazionale. Desidero anche ricordarvi le parole di Gesù, quelle che disse un giorno ai discepoli che gli chiedevano: Rabbì, dove dimori? E Gesù rispose: venite e vedrete. Anche a voi Gesù rivolge il suo sguardo e vi invita ad andare presso di Lui. Carissimi giovani, avete incontrato questo sguardo? Avete udito questa voce? Avete sentito quell'impulso a mettervi in cammino? Sono sicuro che, sebbene il frastuono e lo stordimento sembrino regnare nel mondo, questa chiamata continua a risuonare nel vostro animo per aprirlo alla gioia piena. Ciò sarà possibile nella misura in cui, anche attraverso l'accompagnamento di guide esperte, saprete intraprendere un itinerario di discernimento per scoprire il progetto di Dio sulla vostra vita, sulla tua, la tua, la tua, la tua, sulla vita di ognuno di voi. Pure quando il vostro cammino è segnato dalla precarietà e dalla caduta, Dio ricco di misericordia tende la sua mano per rialzarvi. Queste parole le scrivevo nella lettera che ho inviato a tutti i giovani del mondo il 13 gennaio di quest'anno, proprio per presentare il tema del Sinodo. Il mondo, la Chiesa hanno bisogno di giovani coraggiosi, che non si spaventano di fronte alle difficoltà, che affrontano le prove, tengano gli occhi e il cuore bene aperti sulla realtà, perché nessuno venga rifiutato, sia vittima di ingiustizie, di violenze, venga privato della dignità di persona umana. Sono certo che il vostro cuore giovane, non rimarrà chiuso al grido di aiuto di tanti vostri coetanei che cercano libertà, lavoro, studio, possibilità di dare un senso alla propria vita. Conto sulla vostra disponibilità, sul vostro impegno, sulla vostra capacità di affrontare sfide importanti e di osare il futuro per compiere passi decisivi sulla via del cambiamento. Giovani, lasciatevi raggiungere da Cristo. Lasciatevi che vi parli, vi abbracci, vi consoli, guarisca le vostre ferite, dissolva i vostri dubbi e paure e sarete pronti per l'affascinante avventura della vita. Dono prezioso e impagabile che Dio pone ogni giorno nelle vostre mani. Andate incontro a Gesù, state con Lui nella preghiera, affidatevi a Lui, consegnate tutta la vostra esistenza al suo amore misericordioso e alla vostra fede. E questa vostra fede sarà testimonianza luminosa di generosità e gioia di seguirlo dovunque vi condurrà. Cari giovani del Canada, vi auguro di vivere un incontro come quello dei primi discepoli, perché si spalanchi davanti a voi la bellezza di una vita realizzata nel seguire il Signore. Per questo vi affido a Maria di Nazareth, una giovane come voi, a cui Dio ha rivolto il suo sguardo amorevole perché vi prenda per mano. Lasciatevi prendere per mano da Maria e vi guidi alla gioia di un eccomi pieno e generoso. Gesù ti guarda e aspetta di te un eccomi. Vi benedico, vi abbraccio e vi saluto con affetto mentre vi chiedo per favore di pregare per me, perché io sia un fedele collaboratore della vostra gioia. Grazie.
Cardinal Farrell, I think they like the message. What a tour de force. What an incredible... C'était vraiment incroyable. Un message dirigé exactement nous au Canada, les jeunes du Canada, cari canadesi. Alors, il faut remercier le pape pour le beau message qu'il nous a envoyé. Please express to the Holy Father our great gratitude. What do you guys think of it? It's incredible, huh?
Yeah, it really was incredible. I mean, to hear the Holy Father say, "Dear young people of Canada." Yeah,
Canada.
It's just such a privilege to be able to hear him say those words. And so you feel personally interpellé is the word I have in French. But just called out by the Pope to follow the Lord and to not be afraid, to be bold, and like he said in his message, to say, "Here I am," and to be available for him.
Julian, qu'est-ce que tu as pensé?
How incredible to hear the voice of the Pope telling us that in our own lives we are to hear the voice of Jesus and come follow him. This is a message addressed individually to each and every one of us. It's not just something that happens at the Vatican, that happens in Rome. And the Pope is telling each and every one of us, encounter Jesus. Let yourself be reached by Christ. And this whole exercise is so that the church, I think, can better equip young people to receive this call from the Lord, to receive this encounter that Jesus wants to give to each one of us. So it's extraordinary to hear this from our Holy Father.
Yeah, 100%, Julian. And I think now Montreal, and so are the other cities, prepared to respond to the Pope's message. So we're going to go to Montreal first. Francis, il y a des commentaires pour le vidéo du pape.
Oui, exactement. Je suis en compagnie de Robert, qui est un étudiant en technique d'intervention à loisir. Alors, tu as eu l'occasion d'écouter le message du pape qui vient de nous adresser. En quoi ça correspond à tes attentes pour ce synode? Là, comment est-ce que tu as été touché personnellement là, par ce message du pape François?
Bien, moi, personnellement, c'est l'appel qu'il nous fait directement pour pouvoir entendre notre voix, puis de savoir qu'on est aussi important pour lui que pour d'autres génération, que dans le fond, on a notre mot à dire, puis qu'on est la génération de demain. Donc, c'est vraiment intéressant de savoir ça de sa part.
Quel sujet, justement, qui t'intéresse particulièrement, là, justement, par ce synode et l'Église en général?
Moi, ce que j'aimerais particulièrement, c'est qu'on puisse parler de la sexualité pour les jeunes, particulièrement de la consommation de la pornographie, pour vraiment répondre à ce besoin-là des jeunes, de concrètement savoir ce qui doit être traité, ce qui doit être fait pour les accompagner.
Et dans quelle communauté tu te trouves, toi, à Montréal?
Moi, je fais partie de la 2e de Saint-Denis, dans le fond, dans le chemin néo-catéchuménal, qui est un itinéraire pour pouvoir catholique au niveau d'apprentissage de sa foi et tout. Donc, c'est vers une foi adulte que je veux aller aussi.
Très bien. Alors, Robert, merci beaucoup d'avoir participé. On va pouvoir écouter justement peut-être les réponses que peuvent apporter certains des intervenants à Toronto. Alors, retour à toi, Émilie.
Merci, Francis. And we're now going to give it to Windsor. Back to you. Deacon Pedro.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Julian. We have Noah here. Noah is a third-year student at the University of Windsor, and he wants to comment on this impressive message from the Holy Father.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what the Holy Father said, specifically when he was talking about the relation he had with the disciple. When the disciple said, "Rabbi, where do you live?" And he said, "Come and see." I think that stood out to me because in thinking about the synod and thinking about my life and in the life of many youths, that's a question I think we're all asking all the time is, "Rabbi, where do you live? Where are you in my life right now? Where are you?" And Jesus said, "Come and see." And I think that's the call of the church. I think that's my call to show my friends and to show other people. And hopefully, as a church, we can, and through the synod, we can work on saying, "Come and see" louder and "come and see" more often, and inviting people to come and see Christ and showing them what He has to offer for their lives.
Absolutely, and I would echo what you're saying, that the church, sometimes young people don't come, or they feel like they're not interested, but all they're waiting is for that invitation. So very much the words of Noah here, that we need to remember to invite Emily, Julian. I'm sure that there are other people in other places that would like to comment on specifically that portion of the message.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Noah, and thank you, Deacon Pedro. Maintenant, nous irons encore au Québec. Jasmin, quelles sont les impressions à Québec?
J'ai la chance d'être avec Anne-Sophie qui participe à la vie diocésaine en pastoral jeunesse. Elle travaille aussi au Cégep de Sainte-Foy. Alors, Anne-Sophie, qu'as-tu pensé du message du pape?
Le message du pape en est un puissant qui nous invite à beaucoup d'action. Jasmin, ce qui m'a frappé, c'est qu'il parle d'ouverture et pas comme d'un mot valise, d'une réelle ouverture. Il répète une phrase 2 fois dans son message, « N'érigez pas de mur de division ». Alors, c'est un appel clair et direct que le message du Christ n'est pas juste pour ceux qui sont impliqués en Église en ce moment, et puis qu'on ne doit pas avoir peur en tant que jeune d'être ce qu'on appelle le vin dans la pâte, c'est-à-dire on peut participer à des projets à l'extérieur de l'Église, puis être cette couleur du Christ auprès des autres. C'est vraiment ça notre mission en tant que jeune dans le siècle d'aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup, Anne-Sophie. À vous, Toronto.
Thank you very much, Anne-Sophie, for that beautiful comment.
We're now going to go back to Western Canada. Noel, what are the reactions like in Calgary?
Without a doubt, that message from the Pope has touched all of us. Everyone here has admitted to it, has said it. I have Shane now. He's a seminarian who has some comments and would like to share something with us.
So I would like to add on to the comment in Montreal that the youth have something to contribute. And His Holiness' message to us, don't allow the evils of society to take away your youth. Don't take away your youth. That's such a beautiful message to us. The unfortunate reality in our society is the evils that are denying the innocence from the youth. If you look at the average age of a child looking at pornography, it's 10 years old. If you look in movies, TV, the children are losing their ability to be innocent and to grow as the Christ child was able to grow in his innocence. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you. That's a really good question. I'm going to throw back to you in Toronto.
Thank you very much, Noel. And now, Father Tom, Cardinal Farrell, what are your responses, particularly to what you've heard from these young people?
Obviously, when the Holy Father speaks, he has that way of being which comes as a special grace to him because he is the vicar of Christ on earth. And when he speaks to us about Jesus, we can almost sense the presence of God. I was very impressed by what the young people said in those different cities that we visited. I do believe that what the Holy Father is asking us is to open up our hearts to Christ, because he's telling us, come and see. Perhaps we have been in the church, perhaps we follow more or less what goes on, in our own spiritual lives. Well, now it's a question, you need to come and see, because I want you to change the world that we are living in. And I think that is what the basic message of many of the young people who made comments here this afternoon. Come and see. It's your moment. It's your time. The whole church is saying to you, the Pope is saying to you, hey, don't allow the world to control you. You control the world. And I think that is what we need to do. That's what we're called to do in this world today.
Thank you very much, Cardinal Farrell. Father Tom, any thoughts?
Many thoughts, but the one that really got me is just at the end of the Pope's address to young Canadians. He wants to hear from us, here I am. He wants to hear our echo me, here I am. He doesn't want to hear, here I am, I got it all together. He just wants to hear, here I am. Do with me what you will. That beautiful image of Mary at the end. Rabbi, where do you live? Come and see. And he just wants us to say, here I am. I'm gonna walk with you. I'm gonna try this. The beauty of this Pope is his ability to connect with us. I was in Krakow at the World Youth Day, and I was utterly amazed at his vocabulary and his language in connecting with people. These weren't addresses that were written by theologians way up there. He was speaking to the people there, and I got to say, people listened. Young people listened. I'm still going over those words because they were addressed to me and they were addressed to many people. So we got a great Pope.
We certainly do.
Now, there are a few other people who would like to share their own impressions as well. So we're going to go to Vancouver. Alicia, who do you have with you right now?
Hi, Emily. I have with me Matthew. And as we were listening to the Pope's message, we were really touched by the image of, let yourself experience the gaze of Christ. But we all kind of had a similar thought, that there's a lot of things drowning out the silence that's needed to have that gaze. And Matthew, who's a student at SFU and involved up on campus, has some thoughts on that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the biggest question that I have is, how is this message going to be shared with young people, churched and unchurched, especially what the Pope was really emphasizing, right? If the church wants to meet people where they're at right now, they need to meet people online, right? That's where so much of the church is happening.
How do you feel the church is doing, reaching young people online, in your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from a macro point of view, I think the bigger church is doing a great job. Broadcasts like this, out in Rome. They're doing a really great job. I think at a local level and even in parishes, I think we need to do a better job of showing our local communities what young people are doing. You know, there's a misconception that, you know, young people are not active in the church. And partly that's because we don't see them, right? Like, we don't visually see them. So we need to, you know, be really broadcasting to the world, you know, this is what young people in our local communities believe in, and that's what they're doing.
Thank you, Matthew. Back to you, Toronto.
Thank you. Yes, I think that is a very important part, to be able to meet people where they're at. And so we're probably going to be able to come back to that very important topic that was brought up from Vancouver. For now, we're going to go to Windsor. Deacon Pedro, take it away.
Thank you, Emily. I'm here with Natalie. Natalie's a young professional. She's a recent graduate from the university, and she has a comment.
Yes, while we were listening to the message, I thought the most beautiful part was how the Holy Father just really brought out that relationship with Christ that we need. He used the words fascinated adventure of life, and he said how to be ready for that is to embrace Christ and to allow him to heal us, to allow him to enter into our lives and cast out those fears and those doubts. And I think that's very beautiful. And the way that us young people wonder, like, what do you expect of our lives? When we ask the church that, that's what the church is telling us, that they hope that we have that relationship with the Lord, and the Holy Father just expressed that very well.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people would agree with that. Back to you, Emily and Julian.
So we're back here in our studio audience in Toronto, and we've got a question right from our audience here with us at Salt and Light. What's your question?
For young people, especially in my experience, we kind of are bridges to the rest of the world, you know, taking what's best in the faith and bringing it out to the world, and then taking what's great in the rest of the world, maybe applying it to what's in the local church. How can churches be better equipped to help young people identify kind of what is true, good, and beautiful, St. Paul says, and do use those things to make the world a better place, as Pope Francis indicated?
This is a very good question, and it's something that affects the whole church. Thank you. Maintenant, nous allons encore à Montréal. Francis, il y a d'autres réponses à Montréal?
Oui, Julian, j'ai la chance d'être avec Réa, qui est bien impliquée ici dans la ville, dans l'Église à Montréal. Alors, qu'est-ce que tu as ajouté justement au dialogue qu'on a en ce moment?
Bien, en fait, pour moi, le synode représente une manière vraiment de souligner l'importance des jeunes et de leur rappeler qu'ils ont une mission ici dans le monde. Puis au Québec, si on regarde ça, le taux de suicide au Québec est, je crois, un des plus élevés dans tout le pays. Puis c'est quelque chose vraiment qui m'inquiète. Je ne peux m'empêcher de penser à ces personnes qui, peut-être dans leur jeunesse, n'ont pas eu la chance d'avoir cette orientation, d'avoir quelqu'un qui leur guide. Et alors, je me demande, moi, en tant qu'intervenant jeunesse, comment est-ce que je peux aider à la santé mentale des jeunes, mais en même temps aider à leur santé spirituelle? Comment faire pour unir les deux?
Alors, c'est très intéressant. C'est un sujet difficile que celui du suicide des jeunes, spécialement au Québec. On sait comment, justement, l'Église déploie des ressources pour venir en aide à ces jeunes. J'espère qu'on va avoir l'occasion d'en discuter davantage. De retour à vous à Toronto.
So maybe that's something that we could respond to. What are your thoughts on that?
As I listen to that, and I'm aware of the situation of youth suicide that's related very much to despair. It's a culture that's without hope, a culture that's allowed itself to be overtaken by war and by violence and all that. There's a lot of bad things happening in the world. But as the Pope said in his video to us, and also there's references to it in the letter for the Synod, that we can't allow those things to overtake us and prevent us from acting. We have to act. And he uses the word, you're protagonists. You know, you are the actors. And we can go through the world, we can go through society and let ourselves be taken over by this stuff. Or we can go through it and say, I'm aware of those things, but there's an alternative, there's another way of being. I think that's what your dicastery addresses very much too.
It does, and that is one of our great concerns and one of the reasons why Pope Francis asked to have this synod on young people. We're all conscious of the fact that every day we wake up, and I'd say 99% of the news items that we get on our iPhones and wherever else we receive the news are all about tragic deaths, suffering, misery in our world, in our society. And as Father Tom just said, the Holy Father wants us to change the world. And he's saying, you know, unfortunately, this is the world we're handing over to you. This new generation. Make a difference. Don't let the world control you. Don't let it drag you down. But you tell us how we can help you to improve it and to make it better. And I think that's what we hope that this synod will say to us. I was very impressed by what the young person said, I believe in Vancouver, when they spoke about, well, you know, where do we hear Christ's voice and where do we hear come and see? Where do we hear about? We need to be more present as a local church. You know, sure, the Vatican News Service and the news service of the Conference of Bishops of Canada and the United States and every country in the world can issue their press releases. But we get these Twitter accounts. And, you know, that's where I get my news and that's where but how many times do we hear an invitation from the Holy Father or an invitation from the gospel of Jesus Christ? Remember, as the young gentleman here in the audience said, if St. Paul were around today, where would he be? He'd be an expert on 140 characters. And that's where he would be. So yes.
I'm very touched also by the preparation of many of the groups for this great event. I know what you've been doing. I've been in touch with you for the past month. I was particularly touched by the preparation of the students from Ryerson University here in Toronto. Julian, go and talk to some of those Ryerson people because what they shared with me over the past weeks has been very moving. Let's hear from Ryerson here in Toronto.
Who here has something to share? Go ahead.
So the preparatory document for the Synod on Young People defines faith as seeing things as Jesus does and as a source of vocational discernment. But seeing and acting like Jesus assumes we know how Jesus sees and acts and assumes we desire to imitate him. Assuming this love and desire for Jesus has been detrimental to our church. Knowing about Jesus, the primary focus of the church's priority on catechesis, while helpful, does not translate into an experience of God's love for us.
Cardinal Farrell, what are your thoughts on that question?
Well, to a certain point, I would say I probably would agree with you. And that's why I will say that once again, the Holy Father says, we want to hear this. You know, have we lost contact with young people? In many cases, we have. And when we lose contact with them, or we preach down to them, well, then there is no relationship, and there is no encounter with the person of Jesus Christ. I very much like what you said at the beginning, you know, we are institutionalized to the point of we're in our churches and we come to church. Pope Francis is the first to tell us we have to be a missionary church. Doesn't he tell all the priests? We need to get out of the sacristy and go out there and meet the people where they are. Reality is what counts. The reality of every day. Meet people, express what Jesus expressed to his apostles. The person of Jesus Christ, the mercy that he showed, the kindness, the understanding, the way of being. Well, that's what we need to try and convey to the world. And that's why the Holy Father is telling us, hey, we need to be out there in the reality of the world today. And that's one thing I believe, Father Tom, that Pope Francis is constantly talking about, being out there among the people.
Émilie, nous parlons très souvent au studio de l'espoir, l'espérance. Et si je pense à un agent de l'espérance dans notre pays, c'est l'évêque de Québec. C'est le primat du Canada, Monseigneur Lacroix, l'archevêque de Québec. Et je sais qu'il est avec nous aujourd'hui. Et pour moi, il nous enseigne comment faire face à tous ces grands défis. Monseigneur Lacroix, est-ce que tu nous entends? Quel est ton secret pour donner espoir ou pour répondre à toutes ces grandes questions qui viennent des jeunes?
Merci, Père Tom, et bonjour, mon cher frère, le Cardinal Farrell. Merci d'être chez nous. Vous savez, on prépare dans chacun de nos diocèses tous les synodes et on répond à des questionnaires. Mais d'avoir un proche collaborateur du pape qui vient chez nous écouter en direct les jeunes à travers le pays, c'est vraiment quelque chose d'extraordinaire. Je suis d'accord avec ce qu'on vient de dire. La rencontre avec le Christ, c'est fondamental. C'est ça qui fait que notre vie chrétienne a du sens et qu'on devient capable d'affronter. Le pape le dit, laissez-vous rejoindre par le Christ, écoutez-le, laissez-le vous remettre debout, vous guérir et vous serez en mesure d'affronter les défis de la vie. Mais notre défi à nous, c'est d'être capable d'annoncer, de proclamer cette bonne nouvelle, d'entrer en relation avec les jeunes et les gens de tout âge pour qu'ils puissent s'ouvrir au Christ. Il faut le proposer, il faut l'annoncer, et ça demande des évangélisateurs, des disciples missionnaires. Et je pense que l'espérance que nous proclame le pape et nous offre dans ce message nous dit, nous avons un trésor entre les mains, comment allons-nous le partager avec la jeunesse qui est notre avenir? Comment on va partager la profondeur, la beauté, la richesse de l'Évangile? Alors, nous avons du pain sur la planche, mais il y a beaucoup d'espérance.
Émilie, il est très bon, hein?
Il est très bon. Yes, exactly, Father Tom. And if I can just summarize briefly for the audience, especially here in Toronto and the other cities that are with us, that Cardinal Lacroix is saying, yes, relationship is so important, and we need to be relational. And what the church needs even more are evangelizers. And so how can we be missionary? What is it that we have to offer? And that's something that, Kevin, thank you. I think that what you said was just so beautiful that it resonated with me as well, because it's true, like a relationship with Christ should be first and foremost the priority. That discernment and living the sacraments is something that comes so much more naturally when Christ is first in our life. And so relationship, such a key word. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you, Cardinal Lacroix, for that, for the hope that you give us. And so now we're going to go to Calgary. Noel, who's with you?
I'm going to pass you on to Lauren, who has this comment to begin with.
I loved how in the Pope's address to Canadian youth, he explains at the end how Christ tenderly, the merciful Christ, tenders his hand to pick up those who have fallen. And I just want us to meditate on and pray about together and think about how we can come together to be, as the body of Christ, tenderly reach out and pick up those who've fallen down, who don't feel like there's anyone there looking for them, reaching out to them. How can we really make that tenderness a central aspect of our outreach?
Thank you. Now back to you in Toronto.
Hey, Julian, you're from London. We're here in Toronto. And between London and Toronto, there's this other big reality called Hamilton. And they got a really cool young adult ministry. And I know there's some young people from the Hamilton Young Adult Ministry here, and they've been preparing big time. Go find them and let me see, tell us what they've been thinking. What are their questions for the Pope?
Who've got things to say to the Holy Father? And what's your name?
Robin.
Robin, what would you say to Pope Francis?
Well, I think I would, in addition to echoing what everyone else has said as well, I think one thing that all of us have discussed as well, and something that I feel as well, is that, young people need to be known, young people need to be heard, and young people need to be needed by our church as well. And that's a message that we hear quite often when it comes to the macro level of the church, but what does it look like in the micro level of our churches, in our individual parishes as well? Like, what does it mean to be needed, and how does the church need us? And so I think a question that I would have is, what do young people mean for our church as well, and why are we needed? What do we have to offer? And I think that's something that that's important, and that's something that I would like to ask as well.
Thank you very much, Robin. Now, is there anyone else from your diocese that would like to share something with us? What's your name?
My name's Kathleen.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. And what would you have to share?
Yeah, just to add to what Robin said, that I think that, maybe I'll stand up so you can see better, that young people aren't just a demographic that should be tolerated until we're adults. Like, it's not just a matter of, okay, when you get up and you have it all together, then you can provide something to the church. And like Father Rizika said earlier, as young people, we can say, here I am, as we are, with all our mistakes. And as Pope Francis said, you know, the Lord has his mercy for us. And I think as young people, we are more ready to say, I don't have it all together, and so we're more ready, able to accept the mercy of God and bring that to the world. And so, yeah, adding to what Robin said, we have so much to offer in that sense of, we're not just here until we're adults in the church. We're here as young people that are needed right now.
Thank you very much. These are very important observations from the Diocese of Hamilton. Emily, where should we go next?
Well, I'd actually like to ask Cardinal Farrell if he could answer that question about, you know, what does it mean for the church to have a relationship and a dialogue with young people?
I think that an important aspect of all of this is the fact that Pope Francis, when he wrote that letter in January, actually gave the example of the local church and saying that we need to have young people. Being young is not just a moment in life until you become old and gray. It is a moment in life that you are full of energy. And this is the moment you should be involved in the church. You should be involved in the parishes, how parishes continue and how they minister to the people of a particular area. Young people need to be involved. And when Pope Francis says they need to be heard, that's precisely what he's saying, is you do need to be heard and you do need to play a role. You're not going to get a person like myself to sit there and be able to deal with all the Facebooks and whatever else there is besides Twitter. That's all I know. You know, you're the ones that can preach the Word of God. A few moments ago, we heard from somewhere else where it said clearly that, well, you know, if you're going to depend only on church service and Mass on a Sunday, well, most young people are more tuned into their... That's where we need to convey the message. And only you can do that. I mean, you cannot expect, you know, the priests in the parishes and the people, the elders of the church, I always called them, at least when I was the Bishop of Dallas, I always said there were two parish councils. There were the elders and there were the people who are active, the younger people. Well, they're the ones, in my opinion, that need to be speaking out. And this is an opportunity not just for you to speak out, but it's the Pope telling the rest of the church, hey, wake up, pay attention to the young people. They're the ones that have the energy. They're the ones that have the new ideas. The world today is not like it was 50 years ago. It's a different world. And we need to recognize that.
Hey, Cardinal, what's your Twitter handle?
Twitter.
Follow him. It's pretty cool stuff.
So I think we have Calgary lined up right now. So Noel?
I have Catherine here who has some comments that she'd like to share.
Yes, so actually one of the things I wanted to mention was also youth communities. So I would say that I'm Catholic now because I was blessed to be part of a really great community, and I was surrounded with friends. But of course, community starts in the home. So what we should be asking ourselves is, are the parents taking responsibility in educating their children? But secondly, is the church educating the children? And our schools, where are children getting their education from? Because once they leave the home, once they no longer have the parent figure in their life, are they really going to continue their life or continue their spiritual life, or is it just going to become something that was what their parents delved into them? So it's important to ask where the children are becoming educated, and if they really know that the church is a home for the broken rather than a place for the perfect, a place to be judged. So just really allowing the church to see that the kids need to be educated, and knowing that the church starts with a personal relationship with Christ.
That's a really good question and a really good comment. Now, with response to what Father Tom was asking, if you had an opportunity to tell the Pope something about this, what would you like to tell him?
I would just like to say that I really like your take on how the church is a place for healing, because I think that a lot of my friends, even a lot of my secular friends, they think that the church is a place where they're judged, where there's a lot of rules, but really what they can't see is that the church is actually a hospital for those to come and be healed and to really know that Christ's love is real and true and fulfilling. So if they really knew that, then maybe it would help involve youth more. Yeah.
Good question. Back to you, Toronto.
It's a beautiful expression when Pope Francis uses that the church is a field hospital in the midst of a battle, you know, and we treat everybody. It's not a place for specialization. We don't do cholesterol tests or blood work in the field hospital. We bind wounds, and then we move from there.
Now let's hear from Vancouver. Alicia, are there people with you that have something that they'd like to say to Pope Francis?
Yes, Julian. I have Alana Davis with me, and as we have been listening to the message here, it's dawned on us that a lot of outreach to young people in this country evolves around the big events. So it evolves around the International World Youth Days, the World Youth Day every year at the diocesan level, and Alana has some thoughts on, you know, how something needs to happen in between those mega events.
Yeah, thank you. First, what I'd like to say to Pope Francis is just thank you for gathering us. Again, like the comment on technology uniting this country, and even just this room, I've only just met most of these people here. And the comment on that, you know, young people, we need to be here, we need to be part of the church. And just walking in this room, like these are young people who are active in the church. They are volunteering in their church ministries. They are involved in their parish life. Like we are here. I know when I was going to university, my first couple of years, it was like, I want to make friends, I want to get out there, I want to learn. But my faith wasn't really part of that. Like I had grown up Catholic, but I left the home. And I decided that I was going to form my own friendships. And it wasn't until my third year that I realized, you know, this party lifestyle, there's more to life than this. And that's what brought me back to my faith and finding the Catholic Christian Outreach on Queen's campus. And just through that faith study and bringing me back to the roots, that these are things that I had heard in school before. But for now, like it was Jesus present. The Bible is a living book. All of these things came together and it felt like brand new. That's what we need to get to our young people. We need to get them with that energy, because then all of a sudden I wanted to go on all these mission trips. I went to 2 World Youth Days. I was there in Krakow. I've heard Pope Francis speak, and it's just the energy that's there within young people trying to find their place. We need to embrace that and go where they are. They are already involved. They are doing things. They are involved in social justice initiatives and giving back to their community. So tie that to the church, tie that to the gospel. Remind them that Jesus is the one who did all this first with his first disciples, and that we are like him. We are going to those places. And so I think this is great. This is awesome that we can hear from one another and really hear the perspective, but just also witness that, like this room, you know, 12 or so people here living out their faith day to day and maybe not being seen, but you know what, it's happening, and we just have to encourage more to come out and to be part.
So important what you said, Alana, about young people are there. They're just involved in other things. They're involved in social justice initiatives, and we have to tie that to why they're involved. They know why they're involved. We have to, you know, put it into explicit words. This is why they're involved, and this is what they're yearning for, and we have that. Thank you so much, Alana. And now we're actually going to go out to Deacon Pedro Guevara-Man in Windsor.
Thank you, Alicia. We actually have 2 people here that want to speak. Chris is going to say something, and then I'm going to go back here to Shane. Chris.
Hi there. First off, to the Holy Father, in regards to the video, it was absolutely heart-wrenching, like how emotional and how awesome it was what he was saying and stuff, and it really spoke to me. And to kind of build off what was being said previously, about how important family and like the community is to our own faith journey, right? And so the synod is about like youth, faith, and discernment, right? But the integral part about that is the community. It's not like there is a very large portion played by the church and the job that they play and by the youth, but also that connection with parents and educators and how important and integral that is, because it's the analogy that I use is like walking a child to school. You want to make sure that they get there, and it's important, and they may hate it, but you want to make sure that they get it there safely. So you have to be there to hold their hand, not necessarily drag them, but to be there to make sure they get there, carry them, and eventually they'll be able to go there on their own if they have that foundation. And because that's what they do and what they say as parents and educators can really affect on the long term how they develop. And in an instance, I have a friend who was going through a rough time, and instead of having that like support, some of his other friends and community members, like they almost turned their back on him, and he's still very faithful, but he hasn't gone to church since then because he's afraid to open up. He's afraid that he's going to be judged, and we just need to make sure that that message of acceptance and that message of support is out there. And because the Church of Tomorrow is really based on the foundations laid today. It's these people that we're with, the youth, that are going to be the priests, the nuns, the lay people, and all the awesome people in the future, but they need to get there first and have a nice road paved to Jesus and God. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. That's a really nice image. And in fact, it reflects some of the lunchtime conversation we were having at how community is very important for young people. They want to feel that they belong. Shane also had a comment over here.
Hi, first off, I want to say this is truly such a blessing, Holy Father, for giving us this opportunity to speak out. In your article, when I was reading through it, when I heard how you said that the youth voice really matters, I couldn't agree more. Of course, in the Gospels, Jesus says to his disciples, the kingdom of God belongs to these, like these children. Of course, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, the Word of God says, you are the light of the world. You know, we are the light of the world. Our light is shining. As you mentioned, of course, in your article, to be a part of this faith, to be a part of this community. The person in Calgary, the lady in Calgary, mentioned the parents bringing up their children in faith. That really, of course, touched me, and it explains more why the youth are so important and have such an important voice in our faith. We, of course, are the next generation. We are going to be the parents in a couple of decades from now. We have to lead our children. If we weren't grown up in faith, how are our children ever going to grow up in faith? Which is why I believe this is such a blessing to be a part of, to hear our voices, to make our voices heard, and of course, yeah.
Thank you, Shane. Again, I've heard many times people say that we cannot do youth ministry outside of the context of family ministry. So I'm curious to know what other people, maybe in Toronto, maybe Cardinal Farrell, have to comment about that and about what Chris and Shane have said. Toronto?
Cardinal, what are your impressions on what we just heard in Windsor?
What I just heard, I guess, is just what I've always believed, that our faith necessarily is nurtured in a community and in family. In fact, Pope Francis, what he has done, he has called 2 synods. In other words, he had the opportunity to, so far, in his pontificate, to name 2 synods. The first one was about the joy of love, which was about family. And it is about all aspects of family life and all aspects of the sacrament of marriage and of marriage. And part of that, there's a whole chapter dedicated to education and teaching of the faith. It's very important that we read that document. So he sees this, now the Synod on Young People, as part 2 of the first Synod, which was in 2 parts. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, it is very important. And I believe that we have to continue to, I think that relationships, as we have already discussed, are very important. We need to be supportive of each other. Previously, we heard about the church being a field hospital. Well, what does it mean that Jesus approaches us and heals us? It means that the community does it. It means each and every one of us has to do that. Mm-hmm. We're the ones that convey and bring the message of Christ to a young person that's suffering, that's in pain, that is losing hope in their life. How do we help them? By being supportive, not by rejecting them or judging them for what they have done in the past. Jesus, I always tell people, you know, look at the story of the gospel of the prodigal son. How many questions did God ask his son when that son returned? Not one question. He opened his arms and embraced him. We need to do exactly the same thing. And when we have friends, we have to be that father of the prodigal son. When we have friends who are in trouble, who are in pain, who are suffering, who have lost hope, we're the ones. That embrace is so important. We have to do it. That's what it means to live our faith and live Christianity.
Thank you very much, Cardinal. Julian, you have someone in the audience with you right now.
Yes, Emily, we're back here in our audience in Toronto. We're with Sister Marie Immaculata of the Sisters of Our Lady Immaculate. Sister, what do you have to share with us?
Yes, well, first of all, I want to assure the Holy Father that the religious sisters are praying for him. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is I'm going to speak more from a vocational discernment, things that I can contribute to that. Well, I know a lot of religious have found their vocation looking at Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. And I think what needs to be done is more parishes. It would be wonderful if all parishes could have our Lord exposed in the Blessed Sacrament more. I think that would really encourage more vocations in the parishes, because I love that image of our Lord, how when he called his apostles the first time, it was that look of love, and that's what needs to happen. You know, young people need to see that look of love from our Lord in the Eucharist. And it's through Jesus that change will happen in this world, only through Jesus. So that's what I would like to share with the Holy Father. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister, and thank you for praying for Pope Francis. Yes. Emily, back to you.
Yeah, what a beautiful comment right there, Sister. I know for me as well, the Eucharist has always been so important, and you're right. Like, there's nothing like being able to be able to gaze upon Christ in the Eucharist. So thank you very much for that. And now we are going to Quebec City. Jasmin.
Oui, alors 2 interventions. Tout d'abord, Joël, qui est soudeur de formation, également acteur, que j'ai pu voir dans la pièce la troupe des Joyeux Fracturés, une pièce de Fabrice Adjadj qui était excellente, bravo. Alors, quoi dire au pape François?
Merci, Jasmin. Si j'ai une chose à dire, c'est d'abord un remerciement, spécialement pour les mots qu'il nous a adressés, et spécialement quand il nous dit que nous avons intérêt à entretenir des relations qui ont pour objectif la véritable rencontre de l'autre. Moi, je sais que dans ma vie de tous les jours, ce qu'on me propose, c'est la satisfaction de la consommation, et cette consommation-là, à outrance, ne me satisfait pas. Et je vois dans ces mots du pape une possibilité, un chemin qui pourrait me combler, celle où je ne rencontre pas l'autre pour les besoins que je pourrais avoir, mais simplement parce qu'il est autre et que je peux entretenir une relation avec lui. Et j'ai l'impression que c'est ce que le Seigneur nous invite à faire, c'est ce que lui-même a fait, comme on peut le voir dans le témoignage de l'Évangile. Et je remercie grandement le pape d'être ce témoin actuel, au fond, de ces relations qui sont sans compromis, où l'autre est sans compromis.
Merci beaucoup, Joël. Écoute, je veux laisser la chance à Jean-Philippe aussi. Viens ici, Jean-Philippe, étudiant en philosophie. Alors, quoi dire au pape François?
Oui, si je pouvais lui adresser quelques mots. Moi, je parle un peu de mon expérience, de ce que j'ai vécu. J'ai connu ma conversion il y a 3 ans. Et j'ai eu la chance de rencontrer des témoins qui avaient une belle intelligence de leur foi, qui étaient capables de bien montrer comment la foi chrétienne n'était pas irrationnelle, mais qu'elle était belle, qu'elle était vraie, qu'elle était bonne, qu'elle est en concorde, si on veut, avec le cœur humain, avec notre nature. Et moi, il me semble qu'un des points sur lesquels l'Église devrait se pencher, c'est la question de l'intelligence de la foi, de la formation chrétienne. Comment est-ce qu'on peut emmener les chrétiens à être vraiment des gens qui ont confiance que leur foi, la bonne nouvelle du Christ qu'il nous a donnée, elle est vraie. Elle n'est pas seulement belle, mais elle est bonne, elle est vraie. Et il me semble que c'est fondamental pour les chrétiens. Il me semble que quand on comprend mieux notre foi, quand on comprend comment elle est finalement, elle est vraie, elle est rationnelle. Ça nous aide à mieux croire, ça nous aide à... Personnellement, quand je comprenais mieux finalement pourquoi la chasteté c'était bien, pourquoi c'était une bonne chose, eh bien, ça m'aidait à mieux la vivre. Donc, il me semble que pour la vie chrétienne, pour former des chrétiens plus solides, la formation, c'est vraiment quelque chose d'essentiel. Et aussi pour aller en contact avec notre société. On sait que dans notre société, la foi, ça paraît un peu irrationnel, ça paraît étrange aux yeux des gens. Et donc, comment est-ce qu'on peut rentrer en dialogue? C'est ce que le pape veut qu'on fasse, rentrer en dialogue, créer des ponts. Il me semble que la formation chrétienne est vraiment un essentiel pour pouvoir dialoguer sur des questions importantes dans la société, l'euthanasie, plusieurs questions très importantes. Et il me semble que c'est aussi important pour pouvoir nourrir la culture, nourrir notre société. Si on a des chrétiens qui sont dans différentes disciplines et qui ont une meilleure compréhension de leur foi, une meilleure intelligence de la foi, ils peuvent ensuite redonner à la société, la nourrir et vraiment être sel de la terre, lumière du monde.
Merci beaucoup. À vous, Toronto.
And so thank you very much, Quebec. And now I will turn it to Montreal. Francis, c'est à toi.
Oui, Émilie, deux commentaires que j'ai ici. D'abord avec Marie-Belle, Marie-Belle, tu es étudiante en communication à l'Université de Montréal. Tu as un témoignage que tu aimerais partager. Qu'est-ce que l'Église peut faire justement pour répondre davantage à tes aspirations?
En fait, je vais juste dire premièrement un grand merci en fait à toute l'association et au pape Francis surtout d'ici de Montréal de nous avoir donné en fait juste cette opportunité-là pour juste dire en fait nos préoccupations, cette liberté-là en fait. Par rapport en fait à mon expérience personnelle, oui, en fait, je suis une nouvelle maman, étant une nouvelle maman aussi. Je me préoccupe en fait par rapport aux jeunes de notre nouvelle génération. Je trouve en fait que les jeunes se cherchent, puis ici je parle plus de l'identité. Oui, comme dans le document préparatoire, il dit, il y a le grand défi du multiculturalisme. Par exemple, ceux qui grandissent différentes cultures que c'est de leurs parents ou ceux qui migrent ici en fait. Et j'ai l'impression en fait que les jeunes cherchent beaucoup un sentiment, mais d'appartenance. C'est sûr que les médias sociaux, ça n'aide pas presque. Oui, c'est bon utiliser ça comme un bon moyen de communication, mais dans ces cas-ci, je trouve que les jeunes, ils ont beaucoup, beaucoup d'influence. Donc, par rapport, par exemple, aux médias sociaux, à les tendances à suivre, même des fois l'opinion des parents. Des fois, c'est pas la même... ça se ressemble pas, en fait, avec l'opinion de eux-mêmes. Donc, les jeunes s'oublient de s'écouter en dedans de eux-mêmes en premier. Donc, oui, mon but, ça serait de voir les jeunes à l'Église beaucoup plus. Mais ma question est, en fait, comment rendre l'idée de la religion catholique attirant aux jeunes qui, à cet âge-là, se cherchent? Donc ça serait ma question, en fait, pour l'association.
Très bien, Marie-Belle. On va passer tout de suite à Amy ici, qui a quelque chose à ajouter justement à cette grande conversation nationale d'un océan à l'autre.
Oui, merci. En fait, les jeunes cherchent le sens de leur vie, le but de leur vie, sans souvent savoir qu'ils sont en train de se poser ces questions-là et sans non plus savoir que la réponse se trouve en Jésus. Mais on est entouré par une société qui nous dit qu'on a la liberté de faire ce qu'on veut, quand on veut, mais cette même société nous dit qu'on est limité par nos ressources, par notre argent et des institutions telles les écoles décident notre valeur et décident ce qu'on peut faire, ce qu'on peut donner à la société, ce qu'on ne peut pas faire. Et le discernement, qui est cet outil de dialogue entre nous et Dieu et qui nous permet d'écouter à ce que le Saint-Esprit a à nous dire, nous permet de faire un sens à notre vécu, un sens à ce qu'on ressent pour pouvoir faire des décisions dans notre vie de tous les jours. Et sans avoir connu le discernement, j'ai jamais compris à quel point mes décisions sont importantes et ont un pouvoir en tant que jeune. Et Jésus vient nous rencontrer dans notre chaos, il est venu me rencontrer dans le mien, mais il nous appelle aussi à aller dans le chaos des autres et d'amener Jésus vers eux pour qu'ils puissent le rencontrer dans le discernement. Mais comment est-ce que peut l'Église inviter les jeunes à discerner si les jeunes ne comprennent pas qu'est-ce que le dialogue avec Dieu? Et est-ce que le discernement devrait être un outil pour amener les jeunes à Dieu? Ou est-ce qu'on devrait tout d'abord viser à ce qu'ils aient une relation avec Jésus personnellement avant de discerner?
Très bien, merci beaucoup. Alors, comme vous pouvez le voir, il est clair que ici, tous les jeunes sont extrêmement bien préparés, ils connaissent le sujet. Alors, j'imagine qu'ils vont donner beaucoup de travail aux évêques lors du synode d'octobre prochain. Peut-être qu'on peut revenir un peu sur leur questionnement. À vous, Toronto.
We turn now to Vancouver for 5 minutes with the Pope. what would you say to the Holy Father?
Wow, that's pressure. Yeah, I'm here with Daniel Wack. He is incredibly involved in youth ministry. He's really in the trenches in his parish. And, well, he has some questions about actually what we do every week as a church. So tell us about your question.
Yeah, I kind of, if I had like 5 minutes with the Pope to ask him a question, I would kind of ask him, what's the balance between the liturgy that we have in maintaining the integrity of the liturgy, and obviously Jesus is present in the Mass, and that's beautiful. What's the balance between that integrity and the fact that lots of young people are not attracted to the Mass? Like, you'll see people going and receiving confirmation, and they never come back to Mass. Or like, if I had a friend that I was trying to introduce to the Catholic faith, like, I probably wouldn't invite them to Mass. Like, that wouldn't be a draw for them. So where's the balance between maintaining, the liturgy and potentially like modernizing it, making it more appealing? Something Pope Francis has talked about a lot with this upcoming synod is come and see. Like, how can we make the Mass something that young people want to come and see,
Or even how to make that Mass something that you can enter into something more soulful that actually speaks.
No, definitely.
That is a wonderful question. Thank you so much for that. And I understand that right now we are going to hop over the Rockies to Noel in Calgary, who has someone standing by with a question.
Thanks so much, Alicia. I have Troy here with me. He's a young seminarian, starting to be a priest, and he has a question, or rather a comment about what he would say to the Pope if he had 5 minutes to spend with him.
And so, Holy Father, you call us to be missionary disciples. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and we try to do that. Those of us who have encountered the Lord, are on fire with the Lord, we go out and we try to reach out those that we love. But what we find is that there are several obstacles we encounter. One of the obstacles is that it's just this language is not accessible to them. We say, God wants a relationship with you, but the other people around us look at us like we're weird, like we're foreign. Like, we're not just countercultural, we're almost like extraterrestrial in some way. And so, how do we kind of deal with these people? How do we have this language of the church? We have this great tradition, but how do we make it accessible and translate it for the people in here and now? Especially for people who are filled with what they have already. For example, I talked to this one young adult as well, and she says, I'm perfectly happy without God. How do we fill a cup that's already full in that way too? And even the language we use, like, God loves you. Before it would work, and maybe people were kind of drawn by that. But nowadays, even the word God loves you, like that simple term, God, who's God? He's like a spaghetti monster. He's just this myth, right? And he said he loves you. Like, my parents don't even love me. Like, I don't even know who I am. What is love anyways? And so there's a lot of obstacles to being evangelizers to our young adults nowadays. So it's a different terrain. And so, Holy Father, we need your help to see how do we use translate these different terms in our faith and help them reach our youth nowadays.
That's a very good question and very good comments. I'm going to now throw over to Deacon Pedro in Windsor.
Thank you, Noel. I have Victoria here with me. If you had 30 seconds with the Pope, what would you tell him or ask him?
I would thank the Holy Father for providing the youth of our world with so many opportunities. We've had the Steubenville conferences, youth retreats. I had the pleasure of attending World Youth Day this past summer in Krakow. And it made me wonder that all these opportunities for youth are like mountaintop experiences. So we get our fill of the Holy Spirit, but then we return to the real world, and we're faced with all the sin and temptation all around us. So my question to the Pope would be, how do we maintain these mountaintop experiences that you're providing us as adults of the Church?
Thank you, Victoria. That's a very good question. Maybe a question that we can all meditate as we come down from this mountaintop experience that we've had today. Back to you guys in Toronto.
Thank you very much, Deacon Pedro. Now, à Montréal, maintenant, Francis, si vous pouviez demander une question au Pape François et vous aviez 5 minutes pour lui parler, qu'est-ce que vous demanderiez au Pape François?
Alors, je ne répéterai pas ta question. Je suis avec Marie. Qu'est-ce que tu dirais au Pape François?
Mais en fait, moi, j'aimerais lui demander des moyens vraiment concrets pour pouvoir expliquer aux gens la position de l'Église sur plusieurs sujets, par exemple l'avortement, le suicide assisté. Donc, il y a des gens dans l'Église et à l'extérieur de l'Église qui ne comprennent pas nécessairement pourquoi est-ce que l'Église ne le conseille pas. Donc, j'aimerais avoir des moyens plus concrets et des explications très claires pour pouvoir le donner aux gens et qu'on puisse mieux l'exprimer.
Très bien. Alors, mieux exprimer l'évangile de la vie et toutes ces questions qui sont vraiment au cœur des débats de société d'aujourd'hui. Les jeunes, ça les touche beaucoup et ils aimeraient en apprendre davantage là-dessus. Je crois que maintenant, nous allons voir à Québec Jasmin Lefebvre pour répondre à la même question.
Oui, je suis en compagnie de Maxence, qui est étudiant en sciences des religions à l'Université Laval. Donc, tu es avec le pape François. Qu'est-ce que tu lui dis?
D'abord, je le remercier pour l'ouverture puis l'idée de créer des ponts, construire des ponts avec les différentes communautés marginalisées. Mais moi, je lui poserais la question si on pourrait, dans une vision de disciple missionnaire, dans le discernement vocationnel, considérer la lutte pour la justice sociale et la lutte pour l'environnement comme une vocation chrétienne légitime.
Merci beaucoup. À vous, Toronto.
Merci beaucoup, Jasmin. And now we're back in Toronto, and Julian is with a couple people in the audience right now. So, Julian.
Yes, we're back in Toronto with Katerina. If you had some moments with the Pope, what would you say?
Well, so I actually work for a young adult ministry here in Toronto called Faith Connections, and we've been holding sessions very similar to something like this with the bishops and the cardinal for our diocese, and we've been hearing a lot of different things come up. A lot of it has been mentioned here today, and we've heard from several hundreds of people, young people now, and one common theme that I've noticed is the need for knowing why. Because the Catholic faith, we have so many beautiful things that we do, and I think growing up, I didn't understand a lot of it. So, for example, the idea of Mass was more so a tradition for me, so I didn't see the point of doing it at one point. And so I want to say we're sort of like that generation why. We want to know why we do the things that we do. It's also sort of going back to what's been said, the need for community is very strong in today's world. We live in a society that's changing very quickly, and how do we find our Catholic identity in a society that is, rapidly changing with the times? And so I think community and knowing why we do the things we do is something that I'd like to convey to the Holy Father, and also thank him for wanting to journey with us, because some of the bishops have mentioned the word synod means journeying with, accompanying with. So knowing that the Holy Father wants to answer the call to accompany and journey with the young people, it's very inspiring, because the young people are the future of the church. And so this has been, awe-inspiring for me as a young person. I'd like to thank the Holy Father for that as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Katerina. Now, Emily, back to you.
Cardinal Farrell, what are your thoughts on that question?
Obviously, the why is so important, but I would like to go back a step further. When we speak about, and when the Holy Father announced in his opening remarks here today, he said, "Come and see." Well, he's not specifically talking about come and see to go to Mass on Sunday. He's talking about come and see as a getting to know what it is we believe and why we believe it. I think the young lady who spoke just a few moments ago phrased it very well. We need to know why we're doing these things. Well, that's precisely the invitation that the Holy Father is making to the whole Church, and specifically to the young people. You tell us how we're going to convey this message and to pass on the traditions, as I believe you call them, to pass on those traditions to the future young people. Because obviously we have not done, statistics will tell us, we have not done a good job in doing that. We just have not done it. And so I reflect and go back to come, and the invitation to come and see is not the invitation to be, okay, beginning on Sunday, I'm going to be a perfect Christian. I tell you, give it up. It's not going to happen. You need to come and see where I live, how I live, where I live. I think that's the invitation. Mm-hmm. And how we do that, I'm not the one that can answer that question. You all have to answer that question.
Thank you very much, Cardinal. Julian, you have someone else in the audience who has a question for the Pope.
Certainly. We're here with Jesse. Jesse, what would you say to the Holy Father?
So if I had the Holy Father's attention, I would say, first of all, Holy Father, I love you. I would then follow that up with just asking him how we could reprioritize the church in Canada, or if he could pull some strings for me, that would be great. I find myself, in my own experience with churches in Canada, a lot of the time youth ministry is not a priority. And so thinking of like of full-time or even part-time paid youth ministry, we need this. If we're asking people to volunteer, we need to pay them. I've had many friends that are not getting paid, that are doing ministry and getting burnt out because they have to do a job on top of it. So basically, yeah, we need this. I don't know how we're going to get it, but we need it. The youth are not the future of the church. We are the church. So let's get moving.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Emily, back to you.
Father Tom, what an incredible experience we just had today, to be able to hear not only questions that the young people have, but already their thoughts and things that have clearly been growing inside of them, their desires and their hopes. So what do you think of all of this?
Ma première réaction aujourd'hui, c'est wow. We talk a lot in Canada about the solitudes that separate us, a lot because of distance. But today, it was not solitude, it was community. It was a sense of proximity, a sense of closeness, thanks to technology. But more than technology, we had tremendous support. When I ran the idea by Cardinal Farrell several months ago at the Vatican, we were having lunch, and I said, what do you think of this? And he said, yes. And I said, would you come? He said, yes, I'll be there. And then we asked the Pope, and the Pope said, yes, we'll do this. And then we asked the bishops of Canada from one end of the country to the other. And I expressed great gratitude to Archbishop Michael Miller, Brother Bazilian, the Archbishop of Vancouver, to Bishop Bill McGrattan in Calgary, to Bishop Ron Fabro in the London Diocese, Assumption University, to the Bishop of Hamilton, who was president of the conference when we threw out this idea. And Bishop Doug Crosby was really wonderful, to Cardinal Collins, to Bishop Bob Casson, the Auxiliary Bishop of Toronto, who was here in the audience, to Archbishop Lepine in Montreal, who threw open the doors, tell us what you need. And to Cardinal Lacroix in Quebec, we heard him today as a real model of hope. And also with us in the audience today is the Archbishop Luigi Bonazzi, who's the papal nuncio to Canada. This is like a Pope's man in Canada, who came all the way from Ottawa just to check out what's going on here. And of course, to Cardinal Farrell, what an extraordinary experience. You're going home with a lot of homework. And when you sit down in Santa Marta with the Pope, I'd like to be a fly in the wall, and he's going to say, the Canadians are cooking. They got your message, and there's tremendous hope. Je voudrais remercier tout le monde qui a participé aujourd'hui dans ce grand dialogue d'un bout du pays à l'autre, du Pacifique à l'Atlantique, as the Pope said in his message, to all of you in our studio, to all of our technical crew, and to our staff at Salt and Light Television. You know, I got to say it, Salt and Light Television is an instrument of unity and of dialogue, and we're here to help the Pope. So I want you to go back home, unpack, have a little nap, and then go to Santa Marta and tell the boss that we love him, we're praying for him and for you, and nous sommes très, très reconnaissants de ce que nous avons vécu aujourd'hui. Stay tuned for the Synod of Jeunes, Foi et Discernement, Youth, Faith, and Discernment. This is just the beginning of a wonderful journey. Stay tuned, and thank you all very much.